What is up, sports fans? This is Tyler Lavalette of Two Guys Talk Sports. Today I have with me a very special guest, Stephen Jacobs. Can you please say hello to all the listeners?
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here with you, Tyler. Thanks so much for inviting me. Been looking forward to this ever since I heard about it from Mary, and I can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. Let's just jump right straight into things, and let's start with some college football, especially Michigan. We just heard that they got hit with some penalties today. No postseason bans, but some other odd penalties here and there.
Yep, they did. They did indeed, Tyler. Evidently, they have penalties where they have to sit the coach for another game, an additional game. I believe it's going to be in the 26-27 season. In addition, he is restricted as far as coaching and interfacing with certain players during this period of time. In addition, they're going to be fined collectively with different types of fines, but altogether, I read upwards of $20 million is going to cost them, which is a lot of money, but it obviously closes the book, hopefully in this issue once and for all. They also are going after Jim Harbaugh. It has more to do, I think, just as far as a regulation, does not really speak to any type of fine as he's coaching now the Chargers, of course, but rather he cannot come back and have any interaction with collegiate players, I believe, for a period of 10 years, as I understood.
Honestly, I believe he's just definitely not going back to college at any time soon.
Yeah.
So I feel like him being in college is truly done for. So it's more a moot point at that.
Totally agree.
The thing is, though, the whole Colin Stalions thing, it's really interesting that ever since he threw that phone away, the rest of Michigan's success on after that championship was more clean in their eyes. When you consider that fact, that's why they didn't go after the national championship and postseason bans or what have you.
They knew with the date certain that there was no longer any way possible that they would have had any type of information that otherwise would not been able to be obtained. So you're absolutely correct. No one could take issue with their wins post that step.
And now you got folks in Michigan State fans, down in Ohio State fans that were complaining that whole dropping the hammer thing as being a bit of a joke.
Yes.
But that's just rival fan bases, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's behind them. They now know what they have to do to address it, and it's a number. It's a big number, but it's a number, and then that is closed once and for all. So there's no reason, no excuses to even address it any longer. And now with certainty, they know how to proceed.
Now, like I said, of course, if you're a fan of Michigan State and Ohio State, you're not going to like the news well. But if you're a Michigan fan thinking, no big deal, it's behind us. We can now focus on what happens this season, hopefully try to get back into the playoffs, even if we won't be able to. Because another penalty restriction of there is not to get any of the whatever money the conference it does get if they make it into either a bowl game or the playoffs.
That's correct. So they can still get into playoffs, but they cannot. They'll have a penalty as far as the amount of revenue sharing that they're going to have. I don't believe there's any restrictions as far as them playing, or should they proceed to the very end and they actually win a bowl game or have a win at the end of the day, a national championship, that would not be taken away from them, is my understanding.
Well, that is fair.
I think that's very fair. And you know what? Let's be honest. This is not something new to college football. People have been copying, watching, trying to steal signs for years. How this occurred, obviously, was a lot more egregious, or allegedly a lot more egregious. Mm-hmm. But Ohio State stole signs. Even before big games, opposing coaches would sit down with certain teams and tell them what the tendencies were of other teams. So
right.
I think everyone can put this behind them and just start playing football and get it back out in the field and see how well we do.
Yeah, let's just see what happens on the field. Put the off-field crap behind and then go forward with what happens on the field at the Big House or elsewhere in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, and I think speaking of what's going to happen on the field, I think Michigan, they have a very strong defense returning. They had a very strong defense last year. The issue was really with their offense and what they were able to score. They had, as far as offense, the worst yards per attempt per QB position in the entire country in 2024. Now with Bryce Underwood coming in, they have an explosive, albeit young, but explosive quarterback. who I believe is going to help them tremendously, and their defense will be even stronger than it was last year. And so with that, coupled with a better offense, I think they're going to surprise a few people.
One can hope so, like what they had in the run in 23. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with Sherman Moore being suspended for a few games in 25 as part of the punishment, and one game for like next year. But the crazy thing is they get to actually choose what games they'll do. And my hunch tells me he's going to get suspended for some of the cupcake games at that, with no consequential action for the game, for when we hit conference play, and especially when we hit to the game.
Right. Exactly. Well, but there's also a big game early on in the season this year when they go play Oklahoma.
Interesting.
You know, Sharon Moore's alma mater. That'll be emotionally, it'll be a very big game for them, I believe. One of the toughest games before the big game will be playing USC at USC. They got to fly out to the West Coast and play during the regular season. USC is a very strong team. Who knows how? You never know what you're going to get with USC, but if they're strong, that's a very tough game for Michigan, I believe, this year as well.
Well, hey, them playing at the famed Memorial Coliseum is going to be pretty awesome.
That'd be tremendous. That'd be a tremendous venue to see.
People, I mean, think about it. Last year we had the USC playing at the Big House, so
yes,
there's that. People make a complain, oh, they really stretched the Big Ten too thin to the West Coast. That brought in some great stadiums in California alone, with the fact that you can play games at, I think Cal plays at the Rose Bowl. And you definitely bring in the Memorial Coliseum. You're bringing in Eugene, Oregon as well.
UCLA plays there as well. But think about it. You now have pretty much every week in the Big Ten, you have a major matchup. It used to be you played the whole season waiting for Ohio State, Michigan, or waiting for potentially a bowl game to play USC or UCLA. Now they're going to be playing a couple, 3 times throughout the season. This is just a tremendous league. It's only going to get better as they become more and more accustomed about how to travel back and forth, how to get the kids ready before they leave, once they arrive. There's no doubt in my mind that's going to become one of the most attractive venues, both to see a game and also for the fans to experience as well.
That it will be. And we'll just see how all the other teams do good. I know Jake and I, when he gets back, we will definitely be talking more about his perspective on teams like Purdue and heck, what about Northwestern?
Well, talking about my hat, I'm a proud graduate of Northwestern. We've had our struggles as of late, to be totally honest. We continue to have them. We did go in the portal, though. We brought in 15 players from the portal, which for us is a lot because we brought in 16 the previous 4 years. This year, our over and under is about 3.5 to 4 wins is all, as opposed to Michigan's 9.5. But Northwestern has it tough. I mean, we're the size of a Vanderbilt, of a Stanford, of a Notre Dame, a Duke. So
right.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. So,
not to mention you're playing at what's essentially Northwestern soccer facility while Ryan Field's under construction, and you got 2 games at Wrigley Field, one of which includes Michigan, which is going to be fun, I'll say that.
Michigan, and I believe also Ohio State again, I believe. I'm not sure. But yeah, Wrigley Field is a great venue. Went there many times as a kid to watch the Cubs. Great place to see a ball game. The Ryan Field, $850 million complex being built in Evanston. Financed $400 million of it by the Ryan family alone. So,
right, at least when your family surname is on the stadium's name, it speaks for itself about donations and what have you. There's a reason for that.
It does.
But yeah, Jake and I went to Chicago last year and did enjoy going to Wrigley Field for a Cubs game. So it's no surprise that it's hosting college football nowadays as well. It's pretty awesome. Really looking forward to the start of college football pretty soon. Jake and I, when he gets back next week, we will definitely be talking more about college football then.
Okay.
Anyway, we also got pro football coming up.
Pro football, absolutely. Your Lions had a great year last year.
They did.
I'm a diehard Bears fan, full disclosure. We're still rebuilding our program. Speaking from the Bears' perspective, I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I didn't want them to trade him away. I wanted to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harris Jr. is a once-in-a-lifetime type of receiver. But we have Caleb Williams, and we'll see how they do. They brought in some folks. They brought in Loveland, the tight end from Michigan.
Nice.
Is now a Bears. So we'll see. But the Lions, though, you have a new OC, a new DC. The OC came up through the system. If you keep that pocket clean for Jared Goff, he's as good as anybody dropping that ball in a bucket anywhere on the field. So that to me is the key for the Lions. And then, of course, defensively, Hutchinson, is he back 100%?
Let's hope so.
Yeah, because he's such a dynamic player. We hope he is.
Yep.
But I can tell you, speaking for someone who came to Michigan 30-some years ago, no one is more supportive of the Lions than folks from around the community watching you guys. You guys are far and away the most patient, wonderful fans on the face of the earth, which you've dealt with all these years. So if the Bears play, I'm rooting for the Bears. Anyone else, I'm rooting for the Lions.
Yeah, I feel like Jake is in that same boat as well. I mean, of course, he and I do a lot of Chicago-Detroit rivalry, which really feeds our channel well. Mm-hmm. And there's that going for it. There's this guy I used to see in whose house I used to see along 59. They had a lot of Lion stuff on it. I wonder whatever happened to that house, let alone that person that lived there.
Yeah, he had a van, I want to say, out in front with the Lions logo on the van as well. On M59. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of hard to miss, but nowadays you can't really tell.
Yeah.
Like just as they're getting good, we don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
I feel the worst, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Never the guys though.
With the beautiful thing though about the Lions is that the whole country was really behind them last year. Mm-hmm. They really were, and there will be to a lesser extent this year, but definitely the support will be nationwide for you guys to do well.
Of course, the thing is, if the Lions do wear off a couple of Super Bowls and have the talk of a dynasty like we had with the Patriots and the Chiefs, when does that support turn to insufferability?
That's a great question. From my perspective, coming from Chicago, I grew up, the Bears were a 500-600 club. But they handed down tickets and wills because everyone wanted to come watch and play. That was the era of Butkus and the defense. We had a defense, a tough defense. We don't have one now. We're hoping to get one back. But when they started winning, and when they won the Super Bowl, thereafter, the infighting started. The expectations in the city of Chicago started. They were so thrilled to have gotten to that point and win it, but then afterwards, they just started to expect it. So that you're absolutely correct. That's just human nature, and I'm sure there's a certain amount of that going on right now in Philadelphia, to a certain extent. But at this point, for Detroit, that'd be a great problem to have.
Yeah, after all the years of being the punching bag, the same old Lions, constantly facing, never being able to win the NFC North until 23, it's just things are starting to get good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to now have that, I wouldn't mind the people being like, "Oh, those Lions fans are so insufferable."
Nah, the Lions fans will always continue to be supportive, the most supportive in the whole country. Actually, my idea of the dream Super Bowl would be Detroit playing Cleveland, because both those cities have put up with a lot over the years. I think those two cities deserve it as much.
Cleveland's got a lot of work to do to get good in the AFC North, mind you.
Absolutely correct.
I feel like we're likely going to get Detroit and Buffalo at this point for a Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, the Buffalo's on Lake Erie as well. Detroit's close to Lake Erie enough to kind of make it count, because a part of Michigan touches Lake Erie along the Monroe area.
Correct.
But yeah, still be a fun Super Bowl for two cities that have been long suffering and starved for one.
Yeah. So coming back to Lions, what do you think about our head coach, your former offensive coordinator? He's going to probably see a lot of the plays he used to call for you guys when we play you.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I'm happy that Ben Johnson's got a chance to coach.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, those two games where he's facing us, he's no different than any past coach they had, especially Eberflus. Oh, man. That was a classic.
That was a disaster. He should have been gone long before. He should have been gone when he got rid of Justin Fields. I never understood that. No disrespect to Caleb Williams.
I sarcastically thanked the Bears for blowing that game away.
Yeah, that just epitomized the whole season for us last year. Talk about the long pass at the end. against Commanders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that and the end of the Lions.
And then the Lions, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was watching on Thanksgiving and just laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Chuck Adley thanking them for blowing it at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, that was bad. But, guys, I'm sure that we got some good draft picks from what we had. We don't want to get any high up in the first round, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, granted, if we ever win a Super Bowl, we'll pick dead last in the first round one of these days, but that wouldn't be a bad trade-off for success under Dan Campbell and the Ford ownership.
He's a great coach. The only critique that I would have of the Ford family is, after all those years of having such struggling teams, when they had the one great year, the ticket prices went up like 30, 40%. I think they're now upwards of the most expensive in the league. I just think that that's hard. You still should thank the fans who've hung in there all those years with, I think, more reasonable ticket pricing. But that's just part of the NFL.
Right. I mean, you're only playing one game a week, so that's a supply and demand thing. Look at a sport like baseball. You're playing. You might have a game every day of the week. Sometimes you're at home. Sometimes you're on the road. Sometimes you have a bye game weekday. You're gonna have a lot more easy access to reach out to the toward Tigers fans than you do Lions fan or any NFL fan for that matter. And now that it's mentioned, there's also it's still frustrating though. When I went to the game against the Packers last year, we were lucky my mom and stepdad were lucky to get nosebleed seats.
Exactly. I guess that's my only point. There's so much money in the TV. It's billions, millions of dollars. You know, it'd be nice if the ticket prices were a little more attainable. That's my only point, because I think so you run an extra commercial and the tickets don't go up by 30%, they go up by 10% maybe or something like that.
I even shot down the thought of going to the Super Bowl a few years back when it was in Vegas, because when they had that surprising run into the playoffs.
Yes.
They could have won the NFC Championship game, but blew it. But airfare prices would have been crazy. Not to mention ticket prices. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, no one's going to travel any better than Lions fans. I mean, they showed that last year, continue to show that this year, I'm sure. So there's still a great deal of enthusiasm. People are excited. They have now seen what is attainable, what can be attained, and what's achievable, what's possible. So I think it's just going to continue to build.
We'll see what happens. I hope that one guy who got injured in the fourth quarter of that game against the Falcons, and hope he's doing well.
Yeah, hope he's getting better soon.
Absolutely. That was just definitely awful to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really, and also a huge shout out to the Falcons team and fans for also hoping he was okay too.
Yes.
That was, for a horrific injury, to see such camaraderie like that was so wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, they've made such great strides in what they're doing to protect the players. Even though it's kind of goofy and it looks strange and no one really cares for it, but the changes to the kickoff have really reduced incidences of concussions significantly over the past couple of years.
They're trying.
I think it's down like 20, 30% or something like that. But they're still working on it. They still have things to figure out how to do it. Whether or not you even have a kickoff anymore, I don't know. Maybe you just punt it, because you don't seem to have the same issues during punts as you do kickoffs, just because of the speed. But I think that's also something that they're looking into.
Yeah, things just change over time. We'll see.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what about your defense?
I hope we can have a much more sustainable run at defense. All those injuries really aid us against the Commanders, and it showed.
Yeah, we're playing people from the practice squad. I mean, Glenn was plugging players left and right. He did a masterful job for the defense, so just tremendous. But the injuries just absolutely decimated your defense.
Like I said, especially once Hutch went down.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was season over, mind you. It just wasn't good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But now he's with the Jets, so we'll see what happens there. And who does he have as quarterback? Justin Fields.
And where's Aaron Rodgers now? Pittsburgh. For one final year.
Yeah. I'm kind of done with Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not going to I do wish him well, and Cooper's going to Canton one day. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. But the torment for both teams by him and the Packers weren't fun.
No. It became too much drama. with Aaron. As great of a quarterback as he is, he has to recognize. And the great quarterbacks, it's a team sport, and you didn't have that drama with Brady, and on paper, arguably, or not even arguably, it's pretty clear who's the better quarterback. So I just think that piece of it will always be an asterisk next to his name. He'll be great. He is great. He'll be Coopersville, everything, but still, I think it's something that, or Canton rather. I think it's Keepers baseball. Yeah, I think it's probably something that his teammates would also say. You know what? He wasn't as much of a teammate in the locker room as say like a Brady.
Yeah, Brady, not mentioned Brady, of course, has a lot more Super Bowl rings than Rodgers does.
Yeah, but he had players around him. Give credit to the organization, but even having players, though, you still have to execute at a high level. He did it. And then where's he go? Tampa Bay. What's he do? He wins another Super Bowl.
Yep. First time that happened at their own stadium too, no less.
Exactly. So I think we'll see what happens, but it'll be an interesting year. A lot of moving pieces. But you mentioned Buffalo. I mean, that Josh Allen, that's another guy you got to root for. I mean, he's just such a great competitor, and it'd be nice to see the people of Buffalo get an also strong team on the AFC side. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. And like I said, I'll keep my division winning prediction close when we get to past Labor Day weekend, when Jake and I start talking about previewing the football season, because, well, that's kind of more appropriate for that. Exactly. Just like how he and I are going to eventually talk about college football pretty soon.
Exactly. It starts up in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Finally getting out of that rough stretch of not having much to watch about entire baseball, that's for sure, and meaningless preseason football.
Yeah. Well, it won't be long, and it starts out strong. I mean, you got Ohio State against Texas. That's a marquee game. We're going to learn a lot about both teams in that game, I think.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, Lee Corso on College Game Day is going to be finally dying the headgear one last time, and then that's it.
Yeah.
The end of a run.
Yeah. I mean, think about. I don't even know how that started, but that just became such an iconic activity that people look forward to it every single Saturday morning. Who he was going to pick.
Yep.
It was must-watch TV. And he did that for, how many, 25, 30 years or something like that?
94 to 2015 is going to be 31.
31 years. I mean, just amazing coach. And, he had the stroke. He obviously is somewhat limited in his energy, but what a significant part of the whole.
Started with him wearing the Buckeye mascot.
Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends with him coming full circle and ending it with that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like Ohio State, but when you think about how to end it,
I don't know.
I wouldn't be too mad.
That's gonna be a big game. I wouldn't put past Texas to sneak up on them. You got a kid named Manning playing.
Yep, Arch Manning.
Yeah, I mean he's been playing behind a few folks there for a couple of years. He's seen a lot. I mean, Ohio State's coming off a big win. So we'll see. And Texas is hungry. Let's face it. Sarkisian was close enough to smell a Final Four type of play. He didn't quite get there.
Nope, not at all. Eventually, it definitely got some potential for a CFP National Championship matchup early on. We'll see. We'll just see what happens when we get further on into the season. By the time we hit December and January, how things all shake out when conference play happens, especially when both teams hit their respective conferences.
Who do you think is that game most critical for? Who has the biggest negative impact if they lose it, do you think, Ohio State or Texas?
I think Texas, because they really ran circles around the SEC, rest of the SEC as a first-tier team from the Big 12. Mm-hmm. If they lose that game, I feel like other SEC programs that are traditional, the Alabama, the LSU, the Floridas, they're going to see that loss and be like, they're not all that invincible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't think if Ohio State loses it, though, that Ryan Day's going to come under pressure immediately? Don't forget, he was on the hot seat before last year's season.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to come under pressure there. I mean, although the really big thing is if he's going to finally be able to beat Michigan. remember the class of 20, those that were freshmen in the class of 21.
Yeah.
When they graduated, when they ended in 24, they didn't already declare for the draft. They knew nothing
No.
but beating the Ohio State.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And that really is something that I don't know the last time that's occurred. That's been a long time going back, but you're absolutely correct. They've been very strong, and on that day, you can take any type of a record in the past, forget about it. Those kids are going to play at a level they've never played at before. So we'll see. We'll see what happens this year with that game. But what do you think about all the NIL money in college football?
It's really changing things a lot, and maybe not necessarily in ways that are good. Jake's talked about this in the past as well, and he's not exactly a big fan of it. The name is like this money. I mean, I'm not against the idea of extra revenue, but it's causing players to go from one school and then transfer to another one and not being able to build the opportunity to build that fan connection.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And these kids are making literally millions of dollars to play football, which is to their benefit, obviously. Maybe it's gone too far. I don't know, but at this point, it becomes a battle between, I think, the big schools and the smaller schools who can really finance this. I mean, you have the revenue sharing of sorts, but the reality is when you have these groups of boosters, effectively, who can bring money together, and the NIL money plus sponsorship, you literally can buy a quarterback. I think Bryce wasn't it $2 or $3 million that was in the package to bring him over, something like that.
Dang.
Yeah, something like that. And there was a summary of some of the other folks, and it's incredible the amount of money that they're being offered to move. Arch Manning, his total package is $3.8 million.
Wow.
Was back in the day, and now this year, $6.8 million.
Dang.
Texas. Carson Beck, $4.3 million. Jeremiah Smith, receiver at Ohio State, $4.2 million. Nussmeier, the QB at LSU, $3.8 million. Lenora Sellers, QB at South Carolina, $3.7 million.
That's just insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, it was an extreme before. We had some kid who, was essentially doing a full-time job and going to school and not being able to buy a $50 dinner, right? But now you've got folks who are literally making millions of dollars, and I'm happy for them because now they don't have to have that stress. But I'm fearful that it'll tilt the table more and more towards the Alabamas, the Texas. The SEC is going to throw a lot of money at it, that. Well, the Big Ten will as well, but the SEC definitely, as they've done in the past. So we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. But a lot of money.
Just makes you wonder how long Notre Dame can stay independent in football.
I've wondered that for many, many years. Many years. Coming from Chicago, NBC televised when I was there only Notre Dame football.
Still do. Well, and they do Big Ten night games as well, but mainly a lot of Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. And Chicago is a Big Ten Notre Dame alumni hub, so that made a lot of sense back then. But absolutely your point. And coming back to school size, Notre Dame's also a relatively small school, 6,000, 7,000 undergraduates. So it's going to have a tougher time to compete. The fact that they are playing at the level they are, that's a credit to their program. You got to give them credit. They've been very competitive the last couple of years here.
Nice. Yeah, that is nice. That they're still being able to compete with them in spite of being independent and not tied to any particular conference. Plus allow them to reap all the rewards of their playoff revenue. They kept it all to themselves.
They did.
No need to split with anyone else.
No, they didn't. Again, you want to talk about a booster or alumni fund with money? Notre Dame are very, very pro collegiate football supporters, so you'll see a lot of support in that regard as well for Notre Dame players to come over.
Well, that's great to hear. And before we go, you want to just really talk about some baseball really quickly?
Go right ahead, bud.
The Tigers have won a couple games still in a row. They beat Minnesota last night and won against Chicago. The White Sox today prior took 2 from the White Sox. They play the Twins this weekend for the other 3 and then head back home for 6 games with both Houston and Kansas City. And I've also heard the Cubs are doing okay, but they just lost to the Pirates.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is in that division, the Cubs, had a stretch there going back 4 or 5 years ago where they really just didn't have anything strong going. Then they hired Craig Counsell, who was the manager of the Brewers.
Yep, and now that team's doing pretty good.
He was replaced by Pat Murphy, who came up there. Now the Brewers, I don't know what it is today, but as of yesterday, they won 10 games in a row.
They've been up to 12.
Okay, there
12.
you go.
We had an off day yesterday.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just and Pat Murphy came up through the Brewers organization, took over the team from Counsell, and now he's taking me to newer heights. So we'll see.
Newer heights to the point where that Milwaukee-based burger chain is, for the third time since the 1980s, is giving away 3 hamburgers next week. Only in baseball can you have such a streak like that.
Exactly.
Where a local business can get behind that and do something special with it. You don't see that in football, basketball, or hockey.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about the consideration of using automatic umpires to call balls and strikes?
I think it's about time we've had ABS, such technology. I've watched games where I've seen some questionable umpiring, to put it nicely. Mm-hmm. And I think it's time that we've had the idea of umps at least getting some help on these calls with these challenges. I like what they had in spring training. I liked what they had during the All-Star game. But it's time we finally got these calls corrected. Too often than not, we might see a good what looks like one thing in the pitch, but it's something else in the eyes of the umpire.
What amazes me, though, is even and I agree with everything you said, but when you watch on television and they put that box up of where the strike zone is, how often when they're making the call spot on, and when that ball is just touching that corner and they still get it right. I mean, there's always going to be some human interpretation. I'm a little bit concerned about taking the human element out of it, as long as they're consistent, so that they're calling the strike zone wide or narrow. The players figure that out. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a way for have it real time, a television screen of it. If there's something egregious, then the opposing manager can have a red flag of sorts. If
it is a challenge system like what they had in spring training, so that's what ABS is in consideration for.
Yeah.
So there's that. But we'll see what happens. This is likely going to implement it in 26, but there's also the possibility of a lockout for 27. So with the CBA expiring,
that'll be disastrous.
To think we were lucky that the full season got played in 22.
Right.
We'll see what happens, but for now we can just head into this offseason knowing we're going to have baseball next year at the very least. So for now, and also we got the playoff races heating up. The NL West, the West is becoming a bit interesting in both the AL and NL. Mm-hmm. Houston's slipping a little to Seattle. The Dodgers are not saying they're in a World Series hangover, but they're tied with San Diego now. Those records are getting the West is getting rather interesting. Yeah, the Tigers are still have a decent amount, but as long as they don't blow it too badly, we'll be okay. Do I see us as with the best record in baseball by September? Of course not.
No.
Not with how the Brewers have been playing, and not with those slumps we had in July. No.
But it's also middle of August, so
that is true.
So I mean, a lot can happen. And speaking as someone who grew up in Chicago with the '69 Cubs, who were up 17 games with 22 to go, and the amazing Mets won, things can change. So as hot as the Brewers are now, let's talk about it in a couple 3 weeks. And see where we are.
I've seen them do pretty bad when it comes to October. So we'll see what happens when it really matters.
Correct. When the pressure's on.
I keep saying a lot throughout every week with Jake that baseball's a marathon, not a sprint.
It is indeed.
I mean, you can say that football is a sprint, and with the fact that you're only playing one game a week, but it's a grueling sprint at that. It's no cakewalk.
No. What surprises me, probably the biggest surprise this year for me are the Yankees. They're a very expensive dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, I've seen that the Mets are also having some issues as well.
But with the Mets, I'm not so sure you have the same expectations as you do with the Yankees. I mean, what's going on there? I'm not sure. They have such talent on paper, and yet they're really struggling.
They haven't won a World Series since the 2000s ended.
That's right.
They went through the entire 2010s, and now they're going in through. We're halfway through the 20s, and they haven't been back. Well, they haven't won at all. They did make it last year, but lost to the Dodgers in 5. So
Correct.
they've been back. I feel like they're having the World Series hangover. I mean, yeah, the Dodgers are having some problems too here or there, but they're still in it for the most part.
They are.
It's just the Yankees. What happened to you? Not that many people are out in most baseball circles are that heartbroken.
No.
Because of how unlike that team is.
Correct.
But even still, it's crazy. You have Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and other good players, and you're not running away with the East.
Right.
You're letting Toronto take it over.
Exactly.
Boston's coming up a little hot. Tampa, well, thanks for, well, I mean, give them kudos to letting Tampa play at their spring training facility for the season.
Right.
Because of Milton. Yeah, but the Orioles are just, man, what happened to that team is what I want to know.
Yeah.
Same with the Twins in Minnesota. Yeah, we're facing them this weekend, but they were talking to the Paulette family selling the Twins, but now that's not happening. They're taking on minority investors.
Yeah.
And crazy.
But I do think the Yankees are going to be in a position where they're going to have some soul searching in this season, because I think they've just had too many consecutive seasons of disappointment for their fans and their fan base. So we'll see what happens. But Toronto's playing really strong. The Cubs played them just recently, and their pitching was really, really strong against the Cubs. And that, obviously, as you know, you get to October, it's pitching, and their pitching looks pretty sharp. Right
I'm
now.
worried about what the Tigers' pitching is going to be like when we get there. I mean, we got get some help in the postseason, bullpen and stuff, but we'll just see how it translates to October play when we get there. But right now, I'm not too sure about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
Jake and I are definitely going to be talking a lot about playoff races when we get closer and closer to the end of the month of next month.
Absolutely. It'll be exciting, but the Tigers will be in the mix, no doubt about it.
There's no question. We still got the Central and AL Central. I don't see that changing too much unless unless things get stupid.
You won't. You'll be fine.
I have my reasons to think it won't be bad, but.
Plus, to play in that beautiful ballpark, Comerica Ballpark, one of the best venues to see a ball game, especially in the late September, early October time frame.
Yep, I'm going to a game next Sunday, and myself with my friend Jake is going with me, along with my mom, stepdad to that game against Kansas City, and he and I went with them and his parents up to a game against the Cubs back in June when we faced them. We were taking at Comerica.
Oh, okay.
When we hosted them, and everyone was saying that match was going to be a World Series preview. Nowadays, I'm not too sure about that. But
Could be, but I think the chances are better for you guys to be part of that than the Cubs right now. The Cubs are definitely struggling. But again, like I said, it's early August. Who knows? The thing is, who's the hottest in early to mid-September going into the end of the season? You just there's certain teams you just don't want to see towards the end of the season.
And before we hit the point where we're about to signing off, I still want to reiterate, baseball's a marathon, not a sprint. The team that's going to get hot in September, has that momentum going into October, is about to make themselves revealed in due time. Is it going to be, will the Tigers get back to that? I don't know. Could the Cubs find a way to get back into it against Milwaukee? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, folks. We'll just have to wait and see. And that's just about going to wrap things up today. It's been a great honor having you.
Tyler, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Enjoyed talking with you. It was a lot of fun.
It was nice having you on. And all you watching, Jake will be back in his regular seat next week. We will be back to normal. He has been off these past 2 weeks, and I, like I said, look forward to having him back just in time for the start of collegiate in the NFL and to get into the baseball races when we hit September. This is Tyler Lavalette saying goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.